All right, welcome back to, I can't believe I'm saying this, Trainwreck Games. It has been forever. It has been literally years since my last wargaming video went up. And that's actually the last time I think I might have played a war game. The last one was the SCS title from Multiman Publishing about North Africa. And I think at the time I mentioned, like, one thing I was thinking about giving a shot was Husky 8 by, I don't know if you can see this, by Danny Holte. Now, Danny Holte is known, I think, mostly for, he did Supreme Commander for GMT, I believe. He also, the one I most know him for is his Normandy game, Battle for Normandy. I've never played it, but what I've always heard is that it's an extremely playable monster, which I think is quite a compliment to pay a game and its designer, because I think we all, we all bite off more than we can chew. We all think we can handle more than we can. And but I think we all picture ourselves playing monsters, and I know for me personally, the idea of it seems amazing, and then as it starts to form into practice, it becomes overwhelming. So I didn't particularly have any, not any interest. I couldn't fit it on my table, and I was like, I could get my Normandy fix elsewhere. But he did have on pre-order, using the same system, I believe, a game on Sicily. And I've pre-ordered that. It's been on the P500 for a while, but I want to say it's starting to get momentum. I don't know if that's true, and I don't know the story about what was going on behind the scenes. But before that, he put out this game, Husky 8, which you can see is a smaller take on the Sicily invasion. The rules are actually pretty simple. It's only like 11 pages or so. There are a few. I only say this. I don't want to be like a anal retentive, like, grammar person. Like, oh, excuse me, there's some typos. But there are a few typos. Like, one is, like, they leave out the verb of what you're supposed to do in a step. It's like, the players may, and then it's sort of a blank. And we'll probably run into that at some point. I forget where it was, though. Then there's another one where they're talking about naval artillery shots, and it's like, it says in one spot, like, where it's specifically written for the rule, like, you may use the naval attacks for anywhere within 5 parentheses 3 hexes away from shore. I think the answer is 3, because in an earlier part when they're talking about this kind of stuff, they mentioned 3. So yeah, I might get thrown because, again, in the section where it's specifically covering that, it says 5 parentheses 3, at least in my copy of the rules. So, but otherwise the rules are like a really breezy, brief 10 pages or so. If you've played basically any war game, you pretty much, especially SCS, you've probably got most of this down. There's, your typical, hit results table. You got a weather table, supply replacement, terrain effect, sequence of play. You've got a basic sequence of play here. You can see roll for weather, roll for supply replacements, reinforcements, card events. There are cards that can do sort of like random stuff, so they can mix it up a little bit. Then the allied player turn, axis player turn, all pretty straightforward. There is an invasion turn. The first turn is an invasion turn. I'm wondering if hopefully I have this in focus. Oops, I think I knocked some stuff around. The invasion turn's done a little different, so we'll go through that. Out of supply effects, you got there. So it's, it's a nice little reference card. It's pretty clean, not too hard to get into. You've got a reinforcement table. I've put most of the reinforcements here. There's actually, you can see them, they're off camera. There's a whole bunch of units that are available to the allies from the jump that we can use as reinforcements whenever I want to bring them in and spend reinforcement points on. There's like, some of this, some of that, just a whole row down here. So we'll see how many of those come into play. Some things on the map, you can see here, the yellow lines. It's like I'm just going to put this here. going to make a mess, but whatever. It says like Allied Navy no go. So I'm assuming. So here's basically, I'll say this: like, I haven't played war games in a while. I was easily confused back then. I'm even more easily confused now. So I don't know exactly. Maybe if there's units here, like you can't. I know you can't support them with the Allied naval pot shots. I don't know. I don't believe there's actual naval units that you have to march around the board. So I think it's a little arbitrary. Not arbitrary. I think it's abstract. There's another line. There's this orange line here. And I think basically what that is there's sort of at a certain point, the Allies have to stay on the right side of that, east. And after a certain point, it might be like around the 19th or 20th of July, I forget what exactly, then they can press forward. There's actually a card where, I don't know where it is, but one of the cards is that George Patton can sort of jump the gun a little bit, as he was known to do sometimes, because he was sick of having to stop and wait for everybody else to do his thing. So, a little flavor there. But otherwise, we're going to give this a shot. Like I said, I haven't played anything in a long time. I've got a pretty new setup. If you watched the last video, no, that's not true, because I think I did a North Africa one. If you watch the last Panzer Grenadier video, when I wrap that up, I talk about how my basement flooded. Tons of things had to get thrown out and cleaned up. And in order to correct the problems that exacerbated the flooding, we then had to repair, the outside of the house as well. That ended up taking a year. That made a huge mess. And it's just been a lot to get back to this point. And I hope, I don't want to promise consistency, but I hope that wargaming is something I can get back into my rotation of hobbies. If you know anything about my other channel, Black Lodge Trivia Night, that's been where the focus, a lot of my effort has been. It's a role-playing game channel. You want to check it out if you're into role-playing games. But otherwise, I would like to, at some point, I hope this becomes a little more regular than it has been, like once every 3 years. So what we'll do is we'll sort of go through the turns in totality, like very early on, and then I'll just sort of update as we get through the game. Just a real quick, like I said, 11 pages of rules. It says that this is seems like it's, so the reason why I'm wondering if it's in focus is because it seems very in focus, like a couple inches off the thing. And so I'm hoping it's as in focus, a couple inches lower. But 1 or 2 players, there's a playing time of 3 or 4 hours. Complexity is 5 out of 10. For 11 pages of rules, I wonder what would be on the bottom half, below 5. What would it take to get there? Solitaire play is 7 out of 10 because there is some special things you need to do for solitaire. Like there's allied air units, and it's supposed to be like a blind system where you're like I put mine down and the opposing player doesn't know if it's a real or if it's a decoy. And obviously that's a little tricky to do when you're playing solo. So same with airborne. So what I'm going to do is I have no idea what I'm going to be putting down for either side, and it'll just be random, and it may not work out, but that's fine. There's also special rules for the cards. What you're supposed to do is in a 2-player game, you're supposed to like take 2 and, sort of pick one and keep the other one secret and all these other things. I think in the solo game, there's actually special rules here where you basically just, see, it says during the card phase, draw 1 card per turn and apply the result, if applicable, during that current turn. If the card's meant to be played during the combat phase, apply the result to every combat in that turn, then discard. So basically, you give up the ability to choose one or the other, but you get a little bit more of an added effect if it's a combat card. So, it's just basically like you get the cards you get, and that's what you have to do. Anyway, like I said, I've got a whole new setup down here, so I might make mistakes with it. I'm hoping Again, I mentioned Black Lots Trivia Night. I put some of it through its paces on that channel. If you look at, what was it? I did book reviews of the Hostile RPG system and Harn from Columbia Games or Game Maker, but they have an RPG line that's really good. And I was sort of testing out a lot of what I'm doing here. So we'll see how it goes. You got my little dice cam, so you can see what I'm rolling. You got the map. One of the things I used to do is I used to do a lot of, like I'd bring up CRTs and move columns. One of the reasons why I struggled to get more stuff out is because I was doing too much editing. So now what I'm trying to do is I've got a setup where hopefully that's minimized quite a bit. I can just hit record. If I need to pause, I can pause. If I need to like just cough my brains out for some reason because something gets stuck in my throat, I can mute. So I'm hoping what you're going to get is just raw play, baby. So we'll see how that goes. So with that, let's get started. On the first turn, the weather is clear. So we're going to put the clear weather here. One of the things they do is that, as you can see, it says clear -1 axis, overcast, no effect, rain -1 allied, heavy rain -2 all. This is a little bit of an abstraction. Overcast, the clear is a little bit of an abstraction. You're like, why is clear weather penalizing the axis? And the reason why they do that is because it abstracts additional air pressure put on by the allies and other stuff they are able to do to jam up axis movement. So when the weather's clear, the allies have a little bit more free reign to jam up the axis, and that's marked by a -1. And then rain, again, is a -1 to allied. Not the Germans, just the allies, because they have to do a lot more movement, a lot more mobility. And then with heavy rain, obviously everybody's affected. Also want to apologize. Like I said, this basement's been through a lot in the last couple of years. Like everything's really dirty. So I'm going to get some, hopefully the plexi itself is pretty clear. But I have a brand new piece of plexi that hasn't been through the entire construction and flood on its way. So maybe not for this, but going forward, I should have hopefully a more pristine piece of plexi to cover that. Okay, so let's get started. I think I just coughed and knocked over half my chits here, so so we're off to that kind of start. What are these? Jesus, I can't believe this is how I start. Hold on. Okay, I think I got it mostly straightened out. That's, I mean, again, this is where I'm at in my life, right? So, we'll say there's a couple things really quickly. Like I said, I haven't played games in a while. I get a little confused, but I will say there's certain things like I will, and I might be alone in this, and maybe other people. I'm just slow to figure it out, but use my tweezers. So I'll drop this piece here, 2/HDG. I can't find any reference to that in the setup charts. There's in the reinforcement tables. I'm probably missing something, but I don't know where it's supposed to go. There's mention in the reinforcement tables of a 14th Corps HQ for Messina up here. I can't find that counter. So I don't know if this 2HG is supposed to go up there, if that's actually the Corps headquarters that I have no idea. See, I can't get used to these tweezers, so it's going to be a mess. It was bad before, but so there's that. There was something else. That might be it for now. Oh, yeah. Like another one is, if you look over here, you can see the 129/29. It's an armor unit for the Germans. Again, there's no mention of that in the reinforcement table that I can see. But it doesn't have a number on the side indicating like a starting position. So I just put it with the other 1529 stuff that comes in. I hope that's okay. I don't know. So that's the thing, right? Like, because I'm inexperienced and because I don't, if it's not like stupid proof, then I kind of get befuddled and I'm like, and for me personally, that increases the barrier to entry, if you know what I mean. And I don't want to, it's not specifically this game. Like, it happens in a lot of games where I'm just like, for me as an idiot, it's not clear what I'm supposed to do here. Okay, now for real, let's get this started. So, like I was saying, the initial invasion turn has its own sequence of events. We're going to roll for the airborne landings. So let's start with that. I think it's kind of cool. You're going to have a little power drop scatter going on. You're going to have random chits getting dropped. I won't know what they are until they land. The British are a little more accurate in their landings, only because they were actually gliders, not paratroopers. So let's get there. Oh, one quick thing about the rules: these Zocs are a little sticky in this game. The Zocs are a little sticky, and units can, if a unit's in a hex, it makes the Zoc negated for supply, but not movement. Movement's still jammed up, even when there's a unit there to clear a path. So that's one thing. Another thing, attacking. You can only attack from one hex into another, but if there's units next door, that will give you like a flanking bonus, but you don't get to sort of combine your efforts into one attack. So that's another thing. So, let's find the invasion turn. Here we go. Okay, so what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to do the power drop landings. The allied player has 6 US and 4 CW power. Okay. Each is chosen randomly and neither player may look at them before placing. Okay. Okay, so I'm seeing some units like there. Is that what we're supposed to do? Are we supposed to put them down? Again, what I was just saying, like, unless it's like spelled out super dumb, then I'm going to get flummoxed and not know what I'm doing. Got it. Okay. So there's 2 main drop points here and here. Oh, I should also say, looking at a counter here, right here. First number, attack value. Second number, defense value. Third number, defense movement. There's a little number there in a circle. That's counts towards stacking. Any hex can have 5 points of stacking in it. One weird thing though, up here, I don't know if I just set it up wrong, but there's 2 units with a 3. What am I doing? There's 2 units with a 3 that I thought both had the same starting hex. They're in a city, but it doesn't seem to matter in terms of the terrain effects chart. So I might have to move one of those at some point, but that's one of those things I was like, or maybe one of the stacking numbers should be different. I'm not sure which. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a US parachute unit, paratrooper unit. We're going to put them there. And now let's figure out how much they drift, not drip. It's 2 rolls. The first roll is what direction, and the second roll is how far. You can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're only using D10s, and so what we're doing is we're going to be rolling, and then do we round down? Yeah, round it down. Okay, so For this first unit, gray will be direction, and then white will be distance. So gray is direction. It's a 7 cut in half to a 3.5 rounded down. So it's going to be a 3. It's going to go this way. And now we got to figure out how far. I think the 1 is just going to be... Oh, that's interesting. Hold on a second. I think because we rolled a 1, you cut it in half and round down, it becomes 0. So they might be on target. So we're going to put them right there. Let's grab another. Again, we're not supposed to know what they are. So second one, we're going to do a roll. Okay. I don't recall what I did. We'll do gray's direction, white is gray's direction, white is distance. We'll just call it that. Gray direction is going to be a 1. So it could be here. Direction is going to be a 5. Cut in half is 2.5, rounded down, so it's going to be 2. So it lands there. Next unit. Another roll. Gray is direction 3. Okay, so we're going to be going this way. Oh, no, it's I did this wrong. Well, whatever, because you're supposed to divide it in half, so it's 3, so it's going to be a 1. So it's going to be this way again. I don't know what I should have done with a 1. Because it needed a direction, so I'll keep that. Okay, so cut in half from a 3 is down to a 1, so it's going to go 1 off, and the direction it's going to go is right here. Because 2 divided by in half is a 1, so it's going to go 1 space off target. Next one. Let's roll some dice. Okay, we got a 10 for scatter directions. So that's going to be a 5. So it's going to be going this way, southeast. And it's going to go 2 spaces to the southeast. So, boom, boom. Let's see. We got 2 more paratroopers. Now, I think I said this, nobody's supposed to know what these units are. We won't discover what they are until they get engaged and have to show up. And then we'll learn who did what. Which I kind of think is a nice touch, right? Because if you were sort of running the show, you wouldn't really know what was happening until things started to occur. So we got a 3 for the direction, so that's going to be a 1. A 9 is going to be a 4 for distance. So this one went way off course. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We got one more. American. How's that? Okay, that's landing. Okay. I was trying to set it up so the dice camera captured the entire dice tray. I don't need it to capture the entire dice tray, but I'm just going to make sure I land in the right general area. 0 is going to be a scatter of a 5, so it's going southeast again. A 9 is going to be 4 spaces. Okay, so that is the American airborne landing. So now we got to do the British. Now the British, they're using gliders, so their distance is going to be less. And we'll get to that in a second. So we'll pick the first British unit. Again, they're sort of operating out of there. So again, 6 is the direction, so it's going to be a 3. So, ooh, they can end up in the water. 5 is rounded down -1. So 5 is going to be cut down to 2, cut down to 1. So the good news is a partial hex still counts. So they land just on shore. I wonder what happens. Okay, yeah, if the hex is occupied by an Axis unit or an all-sea hex, the battalion is eliminated and placed aside face down. So one of our airborne units is gone. This one right here. They're out of the game. And we never get to see what they are. We don't know. They're just out of the game. If it lands in an all-sea hex, same thing. Okay, so the next British unit, they have 4. Okay, so the direction is 1, inland. They're going to be on target because it's 3 cut in half is a 1 and -1. So they're on target. Next one. This one is was a 1. That's what I mean. I got to be careful to have it land in the right zone. Okay, so the direction is a 3 cut in half is a 1. So it's going to be inland again. And they're going to be on target because the distance is a 1. So we'll do that. And the last unit, this is the final airborne for the British. Got an 8 for direction, which is going to be a 4, which is going to be that way. So they're probably going to not make it. Oh, no, they might. Okay, because the distance is 3, cut in half is 1. Because you round it down, -1 means they land on target. Had they not landed on target, either they're going to land on a place where there's enemy forces that would have killed them, or they were going to be out in the water. So they got lucky there, so that's good. Okay, now place beach assault units. Okay, so I think what we're doing is we're going to be dealing with these arrows here. Now, you can see, I'll give this another shot. Right here, this isn't a stack of units. It's a, man, I really don't like these tweezers. A port destroyed. There are a couple things going on. One, I don't like that you, again, squeeze to release. 2, I don't know if I'm just doing something wrong. These rubber tips might be great for gripping, but it makes them fat. And when you're trying to get in between counters, the last thing I want is fat tips. So, okay. Oh, also part of the, part of the sequence of play involves roll for supply and reinforcements. That doesn't happen in the first turn. You just get 5 supply points for the ally. So I should probably mark that down to use at some point. I don't know how many allied naval points I'm supposed to have. I think, let me just look that up real quick because I think it's a fixed number every turn and I should probably know what it is. So as I start to attack, the allied player will usually have a number of naval points available for use in combat. After the 29th, 30th June turn, which again, none of this game takes place in June. Naval points are no longer available. So again, that's one of those typos that's easy to work out, but earlier it says naval points may be used against defending hexes within 5 parentheses 3 hexes of a hex containing any ocean. So I think the answer is 3, not 5. Because of an earlier point where 3 comes up a second time. But if you're looking for, yeah, so it's a little, I don't know. Okay, so next up is the, just getting my things in order here. The conduct phase 1 attacks, place beach assault units. I've already done it. And then it basically shows you which arrow they're moving into. So here you got like the RMC, they're here, they're going to go onto this beach hex. There's a special thing about this thing where any hit just kills whatever unit is, well, maybe they're all one. Yeah, they might all be one step. But yeah, basically any unit hit in this part of the attack just dies. And then you've got 2 rounds of an invasion attacks. There's phase 1 and phase 2. So you sort of get 2 shots to knock them off. And go from there. So, yeah, let's get started. We'll just start with this unit here. It's a 5 attack against a 2 defense. Now, let's check their terrain. They're on what looks like pretty clear terrain. I can find everything. I don't think I need this. Let me put that down. Let me see if that's beach or if that's clear. That looks like beach. You can sort of see it's a little, yeah, so that's beach terrain. So beach, no effect for combat, movement, all, everything can, that's fine. Okay, so there's no effect on combat. So we've got a 5 against a 2, which is a differential of 3. So, just to put it down, the defender's on the -3 column, and the attacker is on the +3 column. So we're gonna roll gray again. Is gonna be Axis, white allies. Holy cow! It's a bad start to the landings. Okay, so for this one, we were doing 7-3. If they're a 2-step unit, great, because they're taking a hit. As you can see on the, even on the 3, it's getting down there. On a 1, that's a miss, so they blow it. So they're not on yet. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. 7-3 has a clear to this hex right there, so they're going to land free and clear. The Ranger, we're going to do this again because it's a little bit different. The Rangers are going to go 3 to a 2, so it's a +1 differential. Again, Axis gray and allies white. +1 differential. So the allies are on a -1 differential. With a 5 is going to be a miss. The 7 on the +1 is going to be barely a hit. Oh, no. Got a little bit of room. So these guys come off, and I think Italian units can never come back you can't like buy them back as reinforcements, I believe. So the Ranger's going to make their landing. Now we're going to go with the 5-4-4 against a 2-2. So again, it's a let's check. That's a city. So if it's a city, you get a +3 to combat. So that's going to make their defensive value a 5 to a 5. So it's a straight, even roll. The Axis gets a 3, the Allies get a 6. So both are going to miss on the even table, so that's okay. I don't know, would this have come into effect? Because this would have been a flanking bonus. So we'll flip them over and say they would have come into effect because of the flanking bonus. So that would have been a +1. So let's just double check what a +1 would have been with a... Is it a +1 to the roll, or is it a +1 to the attack value? Let me just double check that real quick. Make sure I'm not muted. I'm recording. Great. Okay. Let me just double check. Advanced under combat. Terrain and combined arms. We're not dealing with combined arms. Artillery units. Not dealing with that yet. What are they talking about flanking? It's definitely in one of the examples. Okay, so flank support bonus. After other modifiers have been applied, add a +1 to the combat strength for each additional hex. Okay. Yeah, and since they're not next to any enemy units themselves, they can apply their +1 to the strength. So that would have been a 6 to 5, so it would have been a +1. So okay, so I think we sort of worked it out one way or another. It's not a die modifier, it's a change in the attack strength. 6 to a 5 becomes a +1. Allies rolled a 6, which, if you look, becomes a hit. So they've just cleared that unit and are free to land. I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing this at this exact moment, but whatever. Okay. So now we're going to do, what are we doing? These guys, I'm not going to activate them yet, even though there's 2 of them. They're going to land because they have a clear line onto this hex. They have a clean line onto that hex. They're going to go up against here. They can provide a flanking bonus because they're not adjacent to any other unit. I don't know if they can. So I won't flip them over yet. But what we've got is we've got a 5 attack, 2 defense. It's a beach hex, so there's no terrain. And we get a +1, so it's 6 to 2. Let's roll some dice. 6 to 2 on the... Oh, okay. So -4, but they rolled a 10. It's still a hit. +4 with a 3 is a miss. So that one's not there yet. They have a clear landing onto their hex. RMC goes here. These guys go here. These guys are attacking these folks. So there's not going to be any flanking bonus because they're adjacent there. So it's going to be a 5 to 2. They're in a town, which is going to give them a +2. So it's actually 5 to 4. So 5 to 4 is a +1 for the allies. Wow. -1 with a 9 is a hit. So we're going to flip them over, step reduction. And boom. A 6 is not bad on a +1. That's also a hit. So at least they clear the beach. Can make their landing. Let's see. 231. They're landing, again, partial terrain counts. So they're going to land on that little lip of beach there. And these guys are going in. 151, though, they're going straight here. So they're landed. 17.5 is going against them. So, yeah, again, I don't know if I'm supposed to be landing them because I don't know if I would get this flanking bonus. It says airborne units that face a clear beach may advance onto it, but these are not airborne units. I'm just going to keep doing it how I do it. Again, if you want things played right, you're in the wrong place. So let's see how this goes. Okay, again, we're dealing with, there's a town there that's going to give them a +2. Got a 5. Flanking wouldn't count anyway because they're adjacent to other units. 5 to 4, so it's going to be on the +1 column again. Okay. +1 column or -1. We'll do the -1 first. That's a miss. +1's also a miss. So nothing happens there for 17.5. 3 CDO is going to land here. And so that's basically the first... no. Okay, so that's the first phase of combat. Now we're supposed to do a second phase of combat. We don't need to do anything here. But we do need to do something here. So I'm going to definitely give them the flanking bonus again. So it's 2. Is this a town? Is that what the problem is? No, it's just clear hex. So this is a 3 to a 2. Just -1 on the 7 column is a hit. A 4 on the +1 column is a miss. So these guys are done. I'll have to double check if they can actually be brought back or if they're blown on an invasion hex, if that takes them out of the game permanently. So I'll double check that. We're here. Again, it's a 5. There's a town there, so that's a +2. I wish I knew what happened to my old tweezers. At least they weren't perfect, but they did all right. And they might have been Honestly, who even knows at this point? This basement got so trashed during everything that happened. It was rough. So okay, so we've got a 5 to a 4, and we're definitely going to give them a flanking bonus there. So it's a 6 to a 4, so it's a 2 differential. Oh wow, 2 differential. They're both going to get hits, so that'll take them off the map. That'll flip them, but they land. And I think that's the second round of combat. I think that's sort of it. Hopefully the audio is fine. I tried to set up a thing with my microphone. I used to, with the old ways, I used to have a microphone like on a boom arm, like sort of right in front of my mouth, but it would constantly get in my way. I couldn't see. I would have to like move my head around it to see the map, which seemed dumb. So I got a different microphone that can function in a boom position, and I'm hoping it's pretty even as I'm like sort of looking around and forgetting that I'm turning my head a bit. So, okay. So that was phase 2 attacks. Airborne units and units that face a clear beach may advance onto it. So that answers my question. Some of these guys should now move on when I was moving them on earlier. Now would be the time that they do it. This airborne's going to land. This airborne's going to land because they're on the beach. So I'll flip them over again. I don't know if that's right, but it's good enough. Activated Axis units may move 1 hex, no combat. So now, Axis units, yeah, that's sort of an interesting thing. They don't get to just move freely around the island. They have to be activated, and the way they get activated, I think, is actually by having an allied unit adjacent to it. Just gonna look that up really quickly. Okay, just coming real quick, you're gonna notice that this probably just jumped. I was supposed to have 3 allied naval points that I could have been using for these attacks. It would have given me a +1 combat strength away. So you know what we'll do? Since I was using some, we'll just say instead of using the flanking bonuses, I just use naval, and so we'll just call it even there. But yeah, 14.2 is Axis unit activation. Axis units may not move until they become activated on turn 1. Only Axis units adjacent to an allied unit may move. Any Axis unit adjacent to an allied unit throughout the game is always considered activated. On the turn after US forces enter the phase 2 area, which I think is this orange. I think this is the phase 2 area. All Axis units east of the orange activation line are considered activated. So it's interesting. I'm kind of curious, like, I don't, I'm not a historical expert. I find this battle fascinating, but the main thing I've read about it is like Rick Atkinson's like, little bit in his trilogy. It's not a little bit, but so I don't know a ton about this battle. So it's interesting that like everybody sort of has to hold the line until we get far enough west, and then they're like, okay, free reign. I wonder what the historical angle is on that. I genuinely don't know. Okay, so activated units, anything that is so for example, like they would be activated. They would be activated. So I'm gonna have them move there into the town. Maybe they're supposed to be there. No, they're not. Okay. They have a thing of 2, they have a thing of 3, so we could actually combine them. So maybe they're gonna move into the town as well. Oops. I really don't like these. I've said it 5 times, but there we go. They're gonna consolidate there. What else? These guys are too big to stack, so we won't bother with that. Same here. I think what I could do, though, if I wanted to, is I could move these guys. into a town. Oh no, they're already in a town. Are these guys in a town? They're not. So they're going to move into a town. What I was thinking of doing is like, could I have moved them out and then moved them out? I think I can. So let's do that instead. So we're getting inland a little bit. Then could I do something similar? So because you can't, like, could I, but I don't know where they would go. But it might be better than being completely surrounded. So maybe they're going to try and retreat. Yeah, let me try this again. They try and retreat. Again, a destroyed port there. And I don't know if that's a port that can be rebuilt. I don't know if that works a certain way. But let's say that's it for the moving for the time being. Okay. Activated unit, okay. After the invasion phase, the turn markers advance to the 11th and 12th of July, and play proceeds as normal. That was the 10th of July. So now we move that to the 11th. And technically speaking, the game is now set to begin. So let me pause the recording here. And maybe what I'll do is I'll do another full turn and then pop back in for updates. Or I'll figure it out, right? Who cares? Bizarrely, I'm still kind of new to this. So thanks again for checking this out. There will be more. Again, this is Trainwreck Games. Finally sort of back in action after a long, long hiatus. And I just wanted to get my sea legs back, sort of. So I chose this game, relatively lightweight, small footprint. I think you're going to be getting a lot of smaller footprint games. As much as I want to bust out like Axis Empires or something big like that, these smaller footprints, like what's the typical size? Like 24 by 34, 22 by 34, whatever that is. That's kind of the maps that fit most easily. And that covers a lot of things, especially like scenarios. But there's games like Downfall that I really want to get to. That is like you take that 22 by 34 and you rotate it like this way. So it becomes 34 inches deep and 44 inches wide. I'll have to see if I can do stuff like that. My fear is that I'm going to end up using lenses that have like a strong fisheye effect to make it all fit. And maybe that's better than nothing. And I'm not sure. I'll have to take a look. So anyway, thanks again for checking this out. Like I said, I'm still stumbling through getting back on my feet here, and hopefully there's more to come. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.